Okay. Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Mulder, and today I have two very special guests, Wayland Drachenblut. Have I,
Yeah,
did I, okay, and
perfect.
yes, okay, I'm learning from the master. All right, and also we have L the Alchemist on today, and L is he's a darn fine young lad, and I like the guy has fantastic energy, and he just really knows how to explain things in a very simple way that the average person can understand. And I'm glad to get these two great minds here together today, and they're going to discuss radionics and I guess magic and that kind of a thing, and the how these two seem to interact with each other. And with that said, uh, Herr Drachenblut, please take over the show.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, so first of all, thank you very much for having us, and also thank you very much, El, for being willing, right? So both to talk about deeper about the shamanistic approaches that you have towards techno shamanism, and also maybe a bit about our interaction that we had, because you know that I approached you. I said, "Hey, I want to conduct a field study, a scientific field study," and I'm usually very honest with this, right? So, although I have to admit, in the past, I sometimes became somewhere bogus member just to do a field study. So, but for you, it was very clear, right? And you said, "Hey, awesome, let's do something together. I'm all in for." They're doing science together, sharing, because that seemed to be your thing, right? So thanks a lot.
Oh, thank you. It was an honor for me to have someone of your caliber of mind of understanding, not only like electronics, but just like physics and the practicalities of how magic works, is the machines and just all these things. Like to have someone to size a review just as your own thing, it was really appreciative. So thank you.
I You're welcome. So I think you're referring to your book chapter of your upcoming book, right? So I really thank
Yeah.
you that I could have a preview, and I hope that I could help you a little bit as a way to give back with editing the content.
Oh, definitely did. All I can say is, it helped it for the reader, because there's so much that goes on in my brain, and then to express it all outwardly, and then having someone to go through that and make it so it makes more sense for more of the public and things along that line, like that really was a godsend. So, everything going forward that I need reviewed by someone that has their mind of a different caliber, man, it's going to be getting flown your way.
I think God's end is almost the word, right?
Yeah.
But no, basically, so it's my job, right? So as a scientist, I write things up, and so therefore I know how to write, and you basically are the expert of your field. So it was really great to cooperate on this, right? And of course, all under the strict scrutiny and supervision of what I learned from Doc Mulder, right? So that basically it's all in line with the law of Onkochaki and his and the masters he learned from, right? So, but yeah, first let's get started. So, what I want to do is basically I want to conduct a more or less cultural interview, right? So, imagine that I am an anthropologist and I get to know a new highly advanced species somewhere, for example, techno shamans. And one of those members of this highly advanced civilization called L the Alchemist is kind enough to talk with me, right? And so therefore, this is a bit the situation that we have. And then basically, I have someone who's one of the technicians, right? Also highly advanced, another culture. Basically, it would be Doc and basically and Doc and L talking to me, Valen, and basically, and then I try to understand your mojo. This is where I come about. So I'm interested in basically what you do with machines, how you interact with the shamanic aspects of it, so to speak. So we talked about science, but I'm interested in the magic piece, right? I'm interested how you refer to the machine, how this also affects others, because I realized there seemed to have been a kind of effect, like a ripple effect, that people in specific cohorts, for example, the magical scene, they start interacting with each other, and suddenly there seems to be a cultural phenomenon of this divine intervention of a machine that's God sends, what you said, basically to come into a specific cohort and then through specific people that are advanced and basically on the head of the crowd, people that leads the evolution, people like you, El, those are the ones basically to then make others also join the boat. So this is where I come from. Would that be okay for you?
Oh, 100%.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Heck yeah.
So what I would like to start with is you. How when you use radionics, can you just start talking about radionics and what it means for you in terms of using it?
Yeah. There's when it comes down to just like it could be something daily or a bigger project or even just an offering to an entity. When I'm thinking of radionics and the way I use it in my life, it really is so versatile. It's like if you were a superhero and you like had something that could basically help you get through any situation, like the magic hat, basically. That's the way it's been for me. And just knowing the science and understanding the information of which a crystal can hold. It's not just a million, it's trillions of years. It's beyond just our universe. It's the universe of the universe. So that means that they can hold information on how things have manifested and been created throughout all time. So combining all those together with different metal and circuitry and other little shazazz that Doc has put into his machines, integrating all these things together, it does, in a scientific point of view, in my mind, logically makes sense. So then you think about, okay, well, that makes sense. So if this thing works in this, now what do I want to do it with? Now, what you're saying with shamanism, spirituality in and of itself is the way of the shaman. It's communicating with nature, communicating with spirit, seeing the omens, the trees talking to you, the animals speaking to you. And this machine can bring forth those synchronistic moments that much more fluidly. So it's almost like you're making the pond or the universe puddle that you're in a lot more layers going on that you can see going on around you, and fine-tuning those moments into bringing forth, your next breadcrumb to the destination or the thing that you desire to bring forth. So it, to me, just is really just can be used to solve pretty much any situation or problem. And it's like, a peanut butter sandwich is good, but with just doing your magic and stuff, but a peanut butter jelly sandwich is phenomenal. So why would you not include this in a part of the ritual, even if it's just a tuning that you do the ritual perfectly and correctly? Like just things along those lines just makes it, to me, feel like it had, like, it's what made me obsess about it. I mean, like, that's the best way to put it. Like, oh wow, let's try this, let's do this. And then understanding the differences with the taste of the machine, like an advanced vampire box versus a Genesis box / wish box. Like, oh, this one makes a filtered energy come into the entity or myself or whatever versus the raw energy of it. So
gotcha.
Yeah,
gotcha. So it's no pun intended, right? So vampire machine with a taste of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it sucks for whatever it gets pulled from.
Yeah.
But sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's totally fine. Yeah. But yeah, when it comes to just like the techno shamanism part of this tribe over here, it's just like a sacred tool that can be used in any universal operation, whether it's in it or for it, or collecting energy to then burn, I guess, like for example, this is something, if anyone knows what the Master Key sigil looks like, you could use that as an energetic catalyst, as in you could just put the sun on the input of a machine and the output after you tune the dials of that Master Key, and just visualize that as a chalice collecting energy. So then you can end up burning that after a week of it charging, burning that sigil into a ritual you're doing. So it's like a week's worth of that sun's energy is in this chalice that is now being absorbed into the operation that you were doing there, to just add another piece of dynamite to make the whole entire universe go boom.
Amazing. I have so many things already. It was so rich what you told me, so thank you.
Yeah.
This master key amulet that you spoke about, I think this is very interesting because, as far as I understand, it is also used in a shamanic context, right, from the
Yes.
inventor, and it is basically a kind of symbol that has been given to the inventor, right?
Yeah.
And so, basically, which now is used on a machine. Can you tell a bit more about the master key amulet and how you use it on a machine?
Oh, so when you use the word shamanism,
Mm,
honestly, that was the first thing that came to my mind.
mm,
Because working with birds, so part of my
mm,
blacklight alchemy course that you
mm,
can get on blog.co/blacklight alchemy,
mm,
you can there's a couple different birds that I work with, and I've used that master key to connect to the great spirit of that bird species.
mm,
And I'll give an example. The red-tailed hawk can
mm.
fly up pretty high up there. It's about like 400 or 800 feet. And so the whole
Great.
entire premise of you doing this
Mm,
is you're now going to see an 8-month vision and perspective of the course that you're on, what's going to
mm,
occur in that, what needs to happen, what are you wasting your time with, and
mm,
seeing a different bird's eye view, literally,
mm,
of your situation. So you could just use that master key and then visualize that red-tailed hawk and sitting before him. And for me, he got huge in front of me. And it's not that he's like speaking words, but it's like as you look at the bird and he looks into your eyes, you
mm,
hear and feel the words in like your
mm,
soul. And then so I would do that with a couple different birds, and I'd use that master key to connect to that spirit. And I've done it with a few other animals as well that I talk about inside of the course.
mm,
And then eventually you could learn the sigil, because I ended up learning one of the spirits' sigils. It was the raven, their sigil, that is the master spirit. So I didn't need the master key anymore. But still,
mm,
using that key and an operation to connecting
mm,
to animal totem is what I'd call it.
mm,
It can definitely be an easy tap in, one
mm,
for one.
mm. The master key was invented by whom?
J.S. Garrett.
He also uses the radionics, right?
Yes, he does.
Right. And so, what I would be interested in is understanding how the radionics part plays a role in using this basically this key that has been produced on a with a kind of shamanism. So out of experience and information that came from out of our reality, so to speak, gave him the master key. You
Oh,
and then and now you use it on technology, right? Basically, and so I'm interested in maybe you can tell me a bit how you think about this, how you feel about this, and what you do with it.
yeah. Oh man, it's just knowing the principle of what the sigil in and of itself is and what it does, whether it's connecting to the watchers,
Mm,
whether it's the animal shaman, the top spirit of that, or whether it's I even had used it to the fictional character Goku from Dragon Ball Z. I actually I did it working, and so when I actually learned, as I did this with
mm,
this character, and I went on a
mm,
run, and I was visualizing him running with me and his like upbeat attitude. And then
mm,
like what he said to me on the run, and why I know it worked was your biggest blockage is
mm,
yourself, holding yourself back from what you truly have inside. And this is
mm,
way before like I had really taken off with my all my magic and stuff. Like really, I kind of talking out to the world. Like it was a point where
mm,
I was on that cusp, but I had a little bit of fear and holding
mm,
back. And him saying that really awoken me to things. So it's like not only could I connect to fictional character. I bet you could do that with Superman,
mm,
Batman, whatever. Not only could you do it with the Watchers, one of the
mm,
200 Watchers, which some of them I don't even know their names, but they're still working
mm,
with you.
mm.
You could even connect to a Goetic spirit. If you
Right.
thought about Belial, for instance, and you have that key, you could do that. Or just a thing that needs to be resolved. I remember right
Mm,
when the first time I saw this key and I was like, oh, it can open up any door. Okay,
mm,
let's see. And I thought about this one girl who I'd met, and I wrote down her name and just looked at the key and was like, let's see if this works. And I burned it, and I immediately got a text. And I was
Nice.
like, wow. You know?
Okay, but let's go back to the text again, right? It's very interesting. You have now a technology piece coming in again, right? So basically, use this shamanistic element, and the response comes through technology in this regard, a text from someone, right? But in a way, what you do is you text this someone first, right? Either on a shamanic way using this key, or you text basically using a machine, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell me how you use a key with the machine? So what I understand, before I go there, just to recapitulate what you said, you think about something that was your rationalization. You use this character from Drachenblut, which is not too far off, by the way, because this is how myth starts, right? Mm-hmm. Because think about the US in many ways. It's a very young country, and didn't go through all the stages, all the mythological stages that you have in ancient countries, basically, who started to establish mythological figures that at one point maybe become much more a part of the collective psyche. So I wouldn't make it too funny, because maybe people were laughing about figures like Hela or Olympic spirits, or Apollon or Ra from Egypt as well. At first, someone painted it up as a comic, and then it became much more, right? So this is basically how much of those entities are created in a collective psyche. So basically, this Drachenblut, so to speak, of this is your rationalization. Then you have this fear, this blockage, so to speak, that you overcome. And this is something that you started to talk about in the beginning as well, right? And then you acted, so to speak, on it, and you use the machine as a kind of way, disregarded the master key, right? But you seem to be using machines similar, but this would be my question. You seem to be using machines similar to that you basically have a bottleneck that could be cognitive in nature. So you think about something that's not possible, maybe, or you feel that you're afraid of doing it, right? And therefore you don't do it. And then you have this catalyst, which could be either the master key, or it could be a radionics device that you use to overcome this bottleneck. Do I understand this properly?
Yeah, 100%. When it comes down to a fear of, is this good enough, or did I do this right? I also find magic in one sense can get a little, I'm not gonna call it messy because I love it, but the precisionness with adding the radionics kind of clears up some stuff. It's kind of like, you know, I could do a ritual to try to influence the situation and shoot that energy off to them, and you know, hope it hits and their defenses, whatever the case may be, whatever it may be. Or I could use a ritual radionics machine and open that gateway within the person, and so it's just you're automatically doing that, and that could be with, you know, Marbas for a rejuvenation, or that could be for, you know, helping attract wealth for someone, whatever it is.
You're referring to Mabas from the Goetia, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, gotcha. So I guess most people refer to the latest version, which was Crowley and Mathers. I think it was McGregor Mathers who wrote the latest version that has been in use. And so just to understand, to be on the same film. So basically, what you're doing is you use basically something that is blurry, and you have been talking about various things, about birds, about shamanism, about Goetia. So basically, and also in our pre-talk, you talked about angelic things. So basically, it seems to be that magic or shamanism, as you describe it, can be something that is that especially if someone like you uses a lot of different streams, like a toolbox, right? Which stream fits the best for which tool? It can be maybe lacking in precision sometimes, and then you use a device in order to get there, so to speak, which could be either a symbolic device like a master key amulet, or it could be a technical device like a machine, right?
Hello? Hello?
You seem to have technical problems. That's fine.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
now I hear you again, right? Hello, do you hear me?
I mean, I hear you fine.
Yeah,
There.
that was the techno shamanism at work. Mulder, what do you say about this? I
Uh,
know that you come from a Christian background and you're rather focused already, very focused in using in your let's say your worldview, right? What's the difference then for you using machines?
well, a lot of this I really don't involve entities on a lot of my operations. I come from the
Mm,
point of view that the magic is within you. I just set a machine for a particular thing to happen and let the
mm,
universe take care of it. Uh,
mm,
if I'm dealing with certain things, they're very important. If I'm going to call upon an entity using radionics, it's probably going to be angelic, and
mm,
no probably about it, it is going to be angelic, and
mm,
it's just my personal belief system. I feel better about dealing with angelic energy and that kind of
mhm,
thing. But what I but what fascinates me is that the same physics that are involved with the dealing with the angelic, you're dealing
mm,
with on the other side. I mean, it's the
mm,
same. You're using the same identical vehicles, but in different ways. If that makes sense, that's the way I look at it. I
mhm.
may be wrong, but it's similar. Um, but another
Right.
thing too, it looks like
That's over.
L
Let's
dropped off.
continue.
Yeah, well,
Let's continue. It's
yeah,
interesting.
yes. But another thing too, I've noticed, and I've been told this by several sources. I may be wrong about this. I
Mm,
don't know, but when you're dealing with spiritual entities such as angels, for example, they
mm,
prefer radionics because with radionics, they consider it cleaner. They look at us as being dirty. We're
mm.
like animals. We smell to them. I keep getting this one word over and over again. We stink. It's not. We may we may not think we stink, but to them we
Mm,
do. And because
mm,
we eat,
mm,
we go to the bathroom. We have sex. We do all these things that animals
mm,
do, and in their
mm,
minds, we're like that. We're like that little puppy dog, that friendly little puppy dog that oh, here he comes back. Let's
mm.
admit him, and we're like
But,
that.
but, but,
Yeah, but we're
but
like
we all love puppies, right? So
yeah,
basically,
yeah,
somehow we
exactly.
must be cute, right? But
Yeah,
the
yeah.
point I'm asking is, it's very interesting because your point of view is almost identical to Elle's point of view. That you basically say something, you have this belief system, and then you told me something very interesting, which you just said right now, that the magic is in you. So you basically say, I guess that you refer to ideas like hermeticism, right? When you say that as above, so below, that you're basically a part of creation, and I guess from a Christian point of view, you're basically made in the light in the likeliness of God, and so basically, so you're part of God, and therefore you can do everything, and therefore you don't need to use an entity, so to speak.
Well, even in Jesus said himself, he said that all the miracles I have performed.
Mm,
I'm paraphrasing here, but all the miracles I have
mm,
performed, you can do just as great, if not greater. And in other
mm,
words, he's telling you because you are a human, because
mm,
you are in the image of God, so to speak,
mm,
that you have the magic within you. You're just as capable as Jesus of performing
mm.
miracles. He said it right there. It's in black and white.
Right.
You can read it
Okay.
yourself.
That's interesting because if you think about it that way, it basically means that there is this approach, this angelic, so to speak. So you have the idea of different layers, and now you still use a machine. Why do you still use a machine?
I look at it as a tool. It's like anything else. It is a tool. It just makes my job easier. Because the way I look at things is from the physical side, is from physics.
Mm,
It's the double slit experiment.
mm,
The observer just by merely observing can change the outcome of an experiment or change,
mm,
the probabilities of something happening by merely observing. By merely observing. And so, what these machines are basically an extension of our consciousness, and they are
right.
observers, and they're observing reality 24/7, and as a result of that, they're tweaking reality. They're making it do things that it normally would not do, and it's creating the probabilities for things to go in a different direction. And that's the way I look at this thing.
Interesting. So you basically say that the machine is observing, right?
Mhm, correct.
And so this would go along with what El just said about that the crystals hold basically the information, right?
Yeah.
And so that basically the information, so to speak, is aggregated, as El said, in the machine.
Mhm.
And then you tap into this divine thing. This is something that we spoke about before, right?
Right.
It's very interesting. So let's go back to L because
Yeah.
it's the interview, but it is very, we need to talk about this. It's
Yeah.
almost
Yeah.
like a video.
Can you guys hear me? Are
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
solid now?
Loud and
Perfect,
clear.
perfect.
Loud
Oh
and
my
clear.
Loud and
gosh.
clear.
Oh, dude. Okay,
Awesome.
so I definitely want to say techno shamanism.
That was the machine, right? That says you need to talk more about me, right? So L, we had a very good discussion and so far, and basically just wrapping things up.
Using magic.
Yeah, of course. Looking into
You
a
took the
different
words right out of my
direction.
mouth.
So one question. Can you tell me
Yeah.
about a time when you used a machine for a magical operation? Can you describe one example where you used it for a magical operation?
Wow. There is so many now. I'm over here thinking on which spirit.
Hmm.
Okay, well, shout out to my favorite spirit is
Just
Lugala.
one
Oh,
question.
go ahead.
It must be a situation where you had a real outcome, where you had results. Hello?
Hello. Oh, well, there you
Yes.
go.
The technique, the techno shamanism, right? So
Yeah, well, that's every radio. What? No, can you get?
Yeah, I hear you
Is it
now.
on now?
You're on
yeah,
now.
I hear you.
Easy.
You're
Whatever you're
there.
doing,
Right.
don't change it.
Okay, cool. All right, I'm back.
Just don't move.
Oh, I haven't
Don't move.
touched anything at all. That's what's mind blowing. That's what's really crazy. So I'll go into that right now. So
Right.
an actual result has been the advanced vampire box has given me more results than anything else, and that's because when I'd work with a spirit, and for instance, Santolak, growing in wealth and expansion, I would just have on the input four different, whether it's a person that's some evil pedophile, or if it was the sun or a bear, just like four different names or structures on top of the input, and then on the output inside of the machine, just have the sigil of the spirit. And just by turning that, I was finding more opportunities on getting on talking to different people's, expanding my name online. I was seeing my subscriber count.
Hello.
So it seemed to have developed, right? So I have the feeling that the machines today have a effect.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but that's okay. Basically,
Yeah.
I think it's still interesting what we talk about. So basically, when
Seeing
I
my
understood
own
it,
vision about.
hello,
Hello.
I'm
Hello.
here.
Yeah. Yeah. You're kind of
nothing.
going in and out.
Yeah.
So, but
So
what? Sorry.
So I understand you basically you use a energy source or several energy sources, so to speak, through this machine as a kind of sacrifice, right? And then you
Yeah.
use the sacrifice onto an entity, which then gives you results.
Yeah. Yep. And you could do that with an angel like Raphael, and then do it for what his, maybe it's protection or just his.
Doc Mulder, what do you think about giving sacrifices?
Well, I've never done that personally. I just said
Better well-being, maybe learning a better.
Wow. Boy, we have an intermediate. It's definitely interrupting here with L.
Right.
But anyway, neither here nor there. I've never done that kind of thing. I'll say thank you. And that's usually, there's certain angels I deal with personally. I've never done that. I've never thought it was necessary. That's just me. That's just me. Again, it's just kind of, and I feel like I have a fairly good relationship with certain angelic entities that I deal with. It's almost like they're members of my family. I look at them basically, even though they're not, I kind of look at them in a human, in sort of a human way, if that makes
Do
sense.
you use them on machines?
Michael, for example, yeah, I have used them,
Right.
and again, it's cleaner. From what I understand, entities uh, prefer radionics over dealing directly with us. They'd rather get an email from us than actually have us knock on their door and asking them in person. If that makes sense.
So you basically use it as an intermediary device. Like L just described that he uses, for example, a machine as a kind of sacrificial device, also as an intermediary device, right?
Correct.
You seem to be doing the same thing, right? Just as I understand, you don't sacrifice things then to Michael, for example, but you ask Michael to do something,
Correct.
so to speak.
Correct. And I mean, I think that was all that was necessary. He never asked anything of me, or
Hmm.
what have you personally. If he likes a particular candy bar or if he likes a certain liquor, I would be more than
Hmm.
happy to buy it for him. It would be my
Right.
honor. Okay.
Hmm.
If you understand what I'm saying. Yeah, because it's
Right.
just my way of saying in a physical way. It's my way of saying thank you. I
Hmm.
appreciate what you've done for me, and I don't mind
Gotcha.
doing that. But again, and here's the funny thing, and you made a very valid point there, Dalen. It is that uh, the way that L looks at things and the way I look at things are quite similar, but we're dealing with different entities, and that's what I
Hmm.
find interesting. I mean, we're doing similar things, but we're approaching it from I would say 180 degrees. And a lot of sometimes it's not that way, but in a lot of times we're looking at it from a different point of view or coming from a different belief system, but we're still doing the same thing, which I find
Hmm.
kind of ironic.
Right. And one more thing, which I think very interesting is that L basically gives a sacrifice through radionics, which is a kind of tool into the divine, as we said last time already, right?
Mm-hmm.
And basically, to get a result, you ask for a result because you consider angel as part of your family.
Correct.
Again, through the machine, and you say you would give something if you would get the request. So
Correct.
there seems to be a kind of different chain of causality for it in some way, right? So for L,
Mm,
it seems to be that you give something, then through the machine, then you get the outcome, and you ask for the outcome first because you consider them family. And should there would be a desire, then you would give it to them, so to
of
speak.
course. Of course.
Yeah,
Hmm,
that is
interesting.
funny. That is 100% 180, like one way to another. And I guess
Hmm,
like my spiritual way of walking is I don't want to just say like a mercenary fully because I do have allegiances with just certain beings make me feel like family, but it's not like
hmm.
the celestial group, the infernal group. No, it's like select few and they're all allowed to my at my house party, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
I mean, I look at Michael, for example, a big brother, if that makes sense. He's like my big brother. He has my back, it protects me from the bullies in the schoolyard and that kind of thing. And that's the way I look at it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
One,
It's like a friendship, a
One
brotherhood.
question. One question. Talking about brotherhood and friendship, I know it has been a bit of rocky, but I think it makes the charm of this conversation to some degree. Um, can you tell me about how, maybe it's just me perceiving it, that there seems to be a cultural shift now in magicians, shamans, and spiritual people to use radionics for other things. It seemed to have like an evolution that now everyone starts using it. Is this right?
Oh yeah. I mean, as things are in the world, well, 2024, I think is a very spiritual word. That's the best way I'd say it, the awakening, which has been going on since 2012, but the awakening and seeing behind the curtain, so to speak.
Hmm.
Well, there's definitely different mind.
Interesting. Like 12 years later, right? So it's basically 2012 plus 2024. 12 plus 12 years, right? So I think numbers may play a different role to this as well, right? There seem to be a kind of thinking that numbers represent also maybe what's behind reality, right?
um,
Yeah.
agree.
Right. So basically, Al, you were frozen a bit, so we didn't really hear it. But this what I mean is there seemed to be a kind of cultural shift that more people start using radionics, right? And I'm interested in understanding what does it mean for you and other shamans. But I see our time is running out, so maybe we will not be able to capture this right now. We should talk at a different time about it.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to do that and figure out what techno shaman is going on. I think it's all of our spiritual energy all combined in a call. Like, I'm dead serious. I've had that happen where you're talking on the phone to someone about something and then all of a sudden wah, wah, wah. So maybe we'll see if we can get a different way to record.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And Doc, one question, didn't you say that some people who work with quantum computers need to go on a specific training?
Yes. For example, this is how sensitive quantum computers are. The technicians that put these things together, they have to go through a mental process where there's zero emotion when they're working on a computer, when they're working on the components of the quantum computer. They can't be happy, they can't be sad, they can't be depressed, they can't be happy, or we're thinking about that birthday party they don't have tomorrow. They have to be totally neutral, mentally neutral, like a robot whenever they're working with these components, because they notice that the emotions that they have will interface with the components and will affect the outcome of that computer, or the effectiveness or the performance of that computer. The actual technician
Interesting.
himself, just by mere emotion. That's how quantumly these things are, pun intended, they're connected. How the human consciousness is connected with the physical, quote unquote, physical reality.
It's something I looked it up. I didn't find it, so maybe we can also talk about this in the future if you have some sources, of course, because it's now just anecdotal, episodal that I hear from you, and so therefore it would be interesting to get
Mm-hmm.
some source materials, maybe talking with people who really work on those machines to understand a bit more.
Right.
Because one thing is hearing about it, the other thing is really talking and getting the references, getting the
Right.
people who worked on it. Anyhow, the time runs out, right?
Yes, 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 it does. And but yeah, this has been great. And again, L, thank you for coming on, there, guy. We'll be talking to you. We'll call you back here in just a minute. But yeah, just thank you for your time in doing this. And Herr Drachenblut, thank you for your thank you for your time. And